All right, guys, we are here with the one and only, one of the best ever in North American Counter-Strike, EliGE. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Okay, so for all of this, of course, let's get the Blast Pro questions out of the way. Tomorrow, a debut match at the point of us recording. It should be a pretty spicy matchup. What are your expectations for Blast Spring?
Blast Spring, we're definitely expecting to qualify past the groups because I think that Navi and us are the two strongest teams. So I think that we're expecting to definitely go through to the groups and to win our opening match. And the goal is to be able to beat Navi and come first in our group.
And certainly, when you look towards other teams and their performances so far, you have two top dogs that will have maybe a tougher run to finals in Astralis and Vitality. Do you guys take anything from that? Does that affect you at all and your outlook on the event, or is it solely focused on Team Liquid?
Could you repeat the question?
So we already have Astralis and Vitality struggling in their groups. Obviously going to be a
Yep.
tougher run to finals. When it comes time for your performance, of course, FaZe Clan opening matchup. Is that on your mind at all, that top teams are already struggling to start the year?
No, I don't really think that it affects us too much because I mean, however it's going for them doesn't have anything to do with us. And I mean, the only thing that means is we really got to qualify so we don't get into the showdown because they're not going to be playing not to their normal level forever. So, but we were already planning to not want to go to the showdown. Like we don't really plan to lose. So didn't really change too much.
Yeah, for sure. And your opening matchup is certainly one with a bit of spice, right? Liquid ended 2020 with some changes, started 2021 with another one, that being Twist. So are you looking forward to that kind of showdown and a bit of rivalry?
Yeah, I think that we're probably on both sides are looking forward to it. Just because we were both teammates, there's no bad blood or anything between it. But of course, any competition and rivalry between former teammates is always going to be there. So we're looking forward to playing them.
Yeah, and speaking of those changes, so it was Nitro to end 2020. You lose him to Valorant, and then Twist this year as well. Obviously, those are big replacements to have. Of those two replacements, which one was harder to go through? And what do you guys do to move forward when you make those replacements?
Um, I think just because of how impactful Nitro was as a player, he definitely was the harder one to lose. I think that I played with him for my whole entire career, so that was very difficult. And when we made the change, we didn't really have like a one-to-one replacement for the same type of player that he was. So there was a lot that changed in the team dynamic that really affected things. As in comparison to Twist, when we just picked up Fallen, Fallen is kind of filling the void a little bit of the things that we do need. So we didn't get like that type of thing when we were replacing Nitro, and so that just made it kind of harder.
Yeah, certainly. Now, speaking of a guy like Fallen, right? Obviously, having a figure like that come onto your team, a notorious Brazilian figure, how has that been for you?
It's been awesome. I think that he's been exactly what we needed. He's a very vocal person. He's very charismatic, and he kind of just like has this presence when he joins a room when he's just he's just like there and making everyone like feel better during the game. Like he's like always making like little comments trying to like boost everyone up. He has ideas for strats. He's like the just like the person that we need to really bring us back to the top.
Yeah, and we've also seen a few teams out there handle Europe a bit differently, right? Some of them have locations in their individual homes or apartments. Can you break down for me really quickly what Team Liquid is doing to accommodate the team and players?
Yeah, so Liquid opened up a facility in Utrecht, Netherlands, a couple months ago, and that has been basically our destination for every single European tour. Now that I don't even know what to call it, but we're just here forever essentially, and it's been super nice because the facilities are great. Everything is super nice looking. The computers are great. Facilities great. We have a chef that gives us 3 meals a day, so we don't have to worry about that whatsoever. Uh, our living spaces are in the same building as the office, so we have our own rooms. We have our own personal space. We have computers in our rooms if we wanted to get away from the team. So I don't know. Everything's just been incredibly perfect from Liquid, and I think they give us everything that we could possibly need.
And would you see that as an advantage as maybe compared to a team who has those players located individually outside of a facility?
Yeah, I actually would think that because there's a lot of any teams that they have to just like kind of scramble to, maybe call one sponsor here, one sponsor there, see like what office is available, or they end up going to the LAN center in Serbia that a lot of people are going to. and they're all kind of like confined in their own spaces, have to order takeout and stuff. And that is a real headache. Like I know just from traveling in the past years, like when you have to order takeout every single day, 2 to 3 times a day, it's tiring. So I think that is a little bit of an advantage.
Certainly so. And you say you're going to be in Europe forever. Obviously, will be more of a long-standing thing. Has that transition been made probably a lot easier by Liquid? But how has that been overall? Because obviously, most pro players can't expect a pandemic and to move overseas entirely. How has that been for you as well as the team?
Yeah, so it's definitely been made a lot easier by Liquid, but for me personally, it's been really tough. I don't really like it. I don't enjoy being for longer than a month away. Usually when we were traveling, the past like 2, 3, actually just like 3, 4 years, when there's been a lot of travel, at least it would be 2 to 3 week stints where we're traveling from like country to country, and then we have like 2 to 3 weeks off. Where right now we are traveling for like 4 to 5 weeks at a time or 6 weeks at a time, and we're only staying home for like 2 or 3 weeks, and you end up just staying for so long. It's just kind of crazy. EG is a really good example where they left at January 5th and they're not leaving until like March 1st, which is really like tough because not only is it hard just being away from home, but within the team, it gets a little stressful, like after like the third or fourth week, because everyone's just a little, I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it, but yeah, I think just overall it's kind of tough. But I think the team, like everyone, just handles it in their own different ways.
Yeah, I think we definitely saw that, the taxing nature of that, especially on younger people like Obo, right? His experience over there. So I think the fans can only do their best to try and imagine what it's like in your shoes. A quick bounce back, last blast question. Who do you think, when it comes down to finals, top three teams?
Of the overall thing, like
Over,
after we get done with Showdown,
overall, yep.
honestly, that's tough because a couple of the teams, like I didn't expect Astralis to not like make it uh, already. I really expect them to go like through the Showdown for sure. Vitality, like it's just a curveball with Apex being benched randomly. A Big is playing really good. I think that if I was just to go the safer route, I'm gonna pick Navi, us, and Astralis, top three.
All right. And here's a random question for you. I want to ask you your daily routine as a pro, because I think a lot of people, especially up and comers, are curious how you dedicate your time to your craft. Before I ask you your daily routine, though, caffeine. I got to know. I'm a big coffee guy myself. What do you do to stay energetic?
Me personally, I just try to have like a good lifestyle where I make sure that I'm working out and I'm active, drinking water. I do drink coffee though. I drink like maybe 1 to 2 a day. Um, so the schedule that we kind of have is I'll do the one that while we're here. So while we're here right now, we have lunch that's served at about like 12:30, so we eat that at that time. And then at 1, we're getting on all together and we're going over whatever we need to. And then from 2 to 3, we are going to be doing some scrims. And then we have a break for 1 hour where uh, usually we're just going to be talking about like whatever like happened in the scrims, or people have like their own little free time, maybe 30 minutes to go get a coffee. Like that's what I like to do during that time. And then we have another scrim, and if possible, if there's like another good team that we have, we get a fourth scrim. But mainly after, it's just I think that a lot of lower level players, they don't like focus enough on discussing problems and answers. They just think about play, play, play. How many pucks can I get in? How many scrims can I get in? And they don't really focus on actually improving their game, and that is achieved by thinking what is going wrong in the game, how do I feel more comfortable about it, how do I fix it, who do I watch that knows already. And I think that's the best tip for up and coming players.
And I think so many players will look up to, obviously, there's so many figures in the Counter-Strike space, you included, when it comes time for top talent. Also, speaking of North American talent, the future of North American CSGO has definitely been a big question. I mean, you guys are in Europe right now. Quick thoughts on the future of NA CSGO, any possible solutions, or just generally, where you think the future of Counter-Strike will be for North America?
I think that it might be a little bit tough and definitely like the short term 1 year, because there's just been so many players that have been gone, and it's even been tougher in the aspect of finding practice partners. At the top level, there's not really that many players or not many teams that we can find to practice. So I was thinking that the Cash Cup idea that UCA came out with, that was an idea that I suggested to them, and I think it's a really good idea where people are going to be paying more attention to that, and teams are going to care more since it's a pretty good amount of money. So I think that's a really good idea, but honestly, I think that it's just going to come down to who's going to just put in a lot of work. It's going to be tough. I honestly don't know.
And, certainly something not probably helping the future of NA CSGO. I got to ask you about it. What are your initial thoughts on Valorant?
I like the game. I think that it's a really good game, and the devs are putting in a lot of work to it, and they're trying to fix problems. But the funny thing about it is, I think that they actually have a lot of problems that CS:GO had in the beginning, where they had a really overpowered like Mag 7, which is the Bucky. The op was overpowered. They've already kind of nerfed it. They had a CZ, like we had a CZ problem. They have a frenzy problem right now. So there's just like a lot of like funny similarities to the openings of the game, but I think it's really good. I think it's healthy to have competition, and hopefully it's gonna elevate Valve to, do a little bit more work.
Yeah, I completely agree. The rising tide raising all ships kind of angle. When you have two competitive FPSs, just brings more eyes to FPSs in general, and to Counter-Strike hopefully too. So I have an interesting question for your backstory, because you have a very, very interesting and lengthy backstory from when you were a young kid to obviously being a CS pro. So correct me if I'm wrong at all, but did it start off with StarCraft 2, correct?
It kind of started actually more towards 1.6. I played like open seasons in the beginning of my career, and then like whenever StarCraft 2 entered beta, that's when I really focused on that for like 3 or 4 years.
Okay, so can you very quickly summarize your timeline of what you would say when you first really started getting into competitive gaming?
Like how I first got into it, really?
Yeah, pretty much the game timeline.
Yeah, so I started off playing like Counter-Strike in general when I was like 4 years old. My brother showed me the game, and I would just be like watching over his shoulder.
You said
And
he was
then
4 years old?
yeah, 4 years
Okay.
old. So I was watching him, and I ended up like playing. I got on like some Cal Open team, Civo free back then, up at like just until like 4 to 9. I actually don't know exactly when StarCraft 2 beta came out. And then when that came out, that was about like 3 or 4 years where I was playing competitively. I was trying to like do as much as I could to be a pro. That was always the goal for me, to be a pro. And then I took like a break from StarCraft for like 6 months, and I played League actually. And then I realized I didn't really like playing League too much. So then I went back to StarCraft for a couple months, and then I saw how CSGO was doing, and I gave StarCraft 2 like my one final shot, and then something happened where I was just like, I don't really feel like playing this anymore. Then I went to CSGO because that was what I kind of grew up playing.
Would you say that was a pivotal choice then? Do you remember a moment where you were like, StarCraft 2 is not it, and CSGO is going to be all in? Was that a pretty pivotal choice to make?
Yeah, actually, it was because I was playing the WCS qualifiers at the time. They just started like doing WCS, and I was putting so much work into it when I was practicing. And I got to the finals of one of the qualifiers to make it into WCS, and I was playing against Select. And the finals, like the qualifiers were like throughout like 2 days, and then like the final day, like the finals was on like the last day. And during that night, they had a patch that completely changed the matchup that I was completely prepared for, and I ended up losing because of it. And as soon as that happened, I didn't want to like play anymore, and I just swapped to CS:GO.
And I remember very clearly, a couple or a few years ago, you stood in for Team Liquid Overwatch.
Yep.
How was that experience? Why did that come about? I remember reading articles about it, but from your take, it seems so random.
Yeah, they knew that I was playing a lot of Overwatch at the time. It was just like a hobby game that I was playing. I was a little bit under top 500 when it came out, and Liquid, they hadn't signed like a fifth player. They were still like deciding on one. So they knew that I was good at it. I think my manager Steve might have like said something, and they just asked me to stand in for it, and I had a good time.
Yeah, competitive Overwatch, not in your future maybe, or?
No, never. Never. It was never even on the board, ever.
But still had a good time though, and do you still play it for fun?
No, I don't. I haven't played like that much. I don't really like playing Overwatch for fun. There's just too much stuff that I dislike about the game now. I like Valorant a lot more for my free time game.
Fair take. Now, I think we are actually, and again, always correct me if I'm wrong, we are slowly approaching your 6th year with Team Liquid. which, undoubtedly you got to be one of the longest standing pro players inside the organization. So I got to ask you, what has Liquid done that you have so clearly established them as that is your team, and vice versa? How does it feel to have them obviously respect you so much to want to keep you with them as long as possible?
I think it's awesome. Victor has shown me a lot of appreciation throughout my years. Recently, he's always been supportive of me and put that faith in me. And I've just loved Liquid so much. They've been a team that I've idolized from the StarCraft days, where they were just that elite esports organization that did a lot for the players, and they were like the pillar of the community for StarCraft. If anyone like did anything with StarCraft, they know about Team Liquid and how uh, just like idolized they were. So I had like that background from them, and when I joined, I think they've done everything that we could have asked. Like any single player that we wanted, they made it happen. Every single thing that we needed, they made it happen. Like a sports psychologist, they got one of like the best sports psychologists that I could have asked to work for. Uh, the facilities that they got are amazing. I think that they've like set the standard for elite tier esports organizations, and I've heard of a lot of other organizations that are seemingly top tier that give terrible contracts to their players. And I've never had a problem with any of my Liquid contracts. Like I've had lawyers like look at it, and honestly, like it would just be like nitpicky stuff that it was just like, oh, maybe you want to do like, I don't know, just very small things. Like everything has pretty much been perfect, and I don't even know of any criticism you can even give to the org, because everything has just been so great. So I'm really happy that it's been the first and only org that I've played for.
Yeah, it's certainly a rarity in esports to have such a long tenure member like yourself. So obviously the respect, it goes both ways. We are slowly winding down here. Got a couple questions left. Then I have some rapid fire questions that I did not look at. They were just given to me. So please don't judge me for. You recently posted just yesterday, at the point of us recording, a crazy aim training clip. And so many responses out there just talking about how nuts you are. For the viewers out there at home, what is your warm-up routine so people can at least try and somewhat mimic you?
Yeah, I was surprised how good that did, but I've been playing like aim labs a little bit more recently. Like in the past week, I've been playing like just like the grid shot or grid shot speed for about like 15 to 20 minutes, taking like a minute break in between each one because it's very tiring. And the reason for that is because I kind of felt like I've been getting a little bit more like lazy aim, as I like to call it. And then after that, I just play like deathmatch or like the CSGO hub prac until my practice is starting.
Dang. Well, yeah, it was definitely a crazy clip to watch. There's a last one. I found it very ironic that we had this interview lined up this week. It's been a crazy week for you, right? Competition starts, your season slowly beginning for 2021, and have to briefly mention the bringing forth of some information around a Face It lineup this week, right?
Yeah.
Definitely did take off on Twitter. I'm sure the viewers know what we're talking about. Could you take me through exactly why you felt that this was the time to bring that stuff forth? Because I thought it was remarkable. In case people don't know, there was a Face It lineup that was exposed for homophobic and racial slurs throughout their history, further brought forth like people like EliGE, and they have now been not only terminated by their organization, but also dropped by Face It. So certainly, why was this the time for you to speak up on that?
Yeah, so I've known of the guys for a very long time, but the thing is like I'm not just gonna like post on Twitter about some randoms that like are just shit talkers and that everyone knows are shit talkers. The reason why I felt like now is because I saw that they were in FPL and I just had completely no idea. Like they've always been at like that premier level, and I just know how much of like a scourge that they've been. And I was surprised and not surprised at the same time of like how many people messaged me after or replied with their own like little personal things, saying just like thank you for finally like shedding light on this, because I mean like they said, I mean I'm a top 10 player with nothing better to do, so I downloaded actually like 10 other demos last night, and honestly you can make like a drinking game out of like which games like they didn't talk shit in.
Don't tempt
So
me. Don't tempt me.
but yeah, I mean they're people that really need to grow up, and they're not very good people. So I think that it was the right time, and I think it was better for everyone.
And you were not the only pro to jump on that. You were the first. And of course, people like Simple and others then reply and then brought that stuff to light. I'm not sure if you saw their response, but I think that was almost a final digging of the grave. And I just want to thank you. That was obviously a pretty crazy thing to see this week. Now, EliGE, I want to thank you for the interview, but I do have 10 rapid fire questions for you.
Yep.
So please, no judgments. These are not mine. Are you ready?
Ready.
Would you rather see StarCraft 3 or Warcraft 4?
Warcraft 4.
Liquid just dropped their Naruto crossover merch. So can you name any other character from the anime besides Naruto?
Sasuke.
Dang it. Okay. Would you rather fight, this is important, 1 regular size nade shot or 12 1-foot tall Hikos?
The 12 1-foot tall Hikos.
Ballsy answer. What game are you playing when you aren't grinding Counter-Strike?
Right now, Valorant.
Awesome. Would you rather have 4 majors a year online or just 1 major a year on LAN?
1 major a year on LAN.
Can you ever see yourself playing Valorant as a pro when you are done with Counter-Strike?
I could see it. I think it's in the cards.
I like that answer. The Better Karate Kid, the original or the new series on Netflix?
I have not seen the new series on Netflix, but I did watch the original. I loved it, so we'll
I would recommend the series. When you have a Twitch stream on, who are you watching?
XQC right now.
Who wins in a fight? Team Liquid's horse mascot Blue or Virtus Pro's mascot, the actual bear?
In an actual fight, I mean, the bear is kind of scary.
I'm gonna tell Steven Victor about that answer.
Don't tell him. Don't tell him.
Who is last question? Who is the best CSGO player not named EliGE?
Simple.
All right. Well, thank you very much for the time. I really do appreciate this. Shouts to Blast as well. One last thing, EliGE, the floor is yours if you have anything to say at all.
Yeah, I'd just like to thank everyone for for watching and for supporting me, and check me out on all social media if you like. But yeah, that's all I got.
Heck yeah,
Thanks for having
Johnny.
me.
Thank you so much for the time.